I think I'll go ahead and get us started and do my little intro and kick things off here. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our Smart Water Software Solutions webinar series. My name's Sarah Milanig. I'm Associate Director at the One Water Solutions Institute at Colorado State University, and I'll be the moderator today. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted onto our YouTube channel. I'll share the link in the chat in case you want to subscribe to that and visit our other content. All participants are currently joined with microphones muted and cameras off. We're going to use the chat feature to track questions, but we'll have ample time at the end to activate microphones so you can ask them directly, or feel free to raise your hand during Tyler's presentation since we have a bit of a more intimate, smaller group today. If you would like proof of attendance for this webinar for the purposes of earning continuing education credits, you can email owsi@colostate.edu and we can provide a confirmation. I'll put that email in the chat as well. So today's webinar will dive into the key features of the Colorado Abandoned Mine Lands data set, which is now integrated into our new RAP tool. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our presenter for today and turn this over to him. Tyler Weibel is the Associate Director for Software Innovation at CSU's One Water Solutions Institute. So take it away, Tyler.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the introduction. And I will reiterate, feel free to raise your hand and interrupt. We're more than happy to take questions in the middle of this. I'm going to start with a little bit of background on what this is and why we're doing a little bit of this webinar series. And then where we go from there is going to turn into a couple screenshots and then a live demo of some of the portal. So to that end, we're talking about abandoned mine lands. So that's things like shafts and adits and tailings piles and all those sorts of things that exist across the landscape of Colorado, dating back closer to 200 years or more than we really want to admit. We've been collaborating specifically with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment for more than a decade for a suite of different analysis tools and dashboards around the topic of water quality, and abandoned mine lands is part of that. So we've run a few different webinars in the past. We got a few more to come before the end of the year on various things like the RAP dashboard, the economic feasibility dashboard, designated planning agency, state water quality management plan, etc. Today, we're going to be focusing specifically down here on the abandoned mine lands data hub and water quality, and specifically their integration into RAP. And I'll touch on why we're emphasizing that side of it. The Katina Analytics platform, for those of you unfamiliar with it, it's basically an online GIS tool, right? So we have a number of different dependencies that we combine to produce dashboards or analyses that are specific for different topics. So half of it's the GIS engine, half of it's the compute engine. Those sit in respective platforms inside of our CSU cloud infrastructure and Docker and Kubernetes. We're not going to go into that. This is just, if you really care, you can dig. What we're going to focus on today is the abandoned mine lands database. This was a data hub put together by the Colorado Geological Survey about a decade ago in response to the Gold King fund associated with that mine leak. Through collaboration with multiple state and federal agencies with the goal of basically trying to coalesce all the statewide abandoned mine land information in one place, we have a starting point of what happened and where. What happened was the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment's Water Quality Control Division, the one people we work with Colorado Geological Survey, the guys that actually know all the geology and the mining stuff, to basically spearhead this endeavor and get all the feds and the state agencies to work together to build this. Where we came in is we basically took the outcome of all of that research and multi-year effort to produce a dashboard that contained abandoned mine land information across all the different federal agencies. This is a screenshot of our ERAMS 1 application of that original data hub. This one is no longer supported. We're moving over into the RAP tool for software that's newer than 10, 15 years old reasons. You can imagine what those may be, but it's hard to maintain old stuff. So we'll talk a little bit as we go forward on that. But what was in this is basically a series of disparate agencies and their tracking statuses, categories, titles, naming, nomenclature, was unified by CGS to a consistent terminology and structure across BLM, Colorado Division of Mine Reclamation and Safety, Department of Energy, EPA, Forest Service, Park Service, Geological Survey, all the feds and the state guys. So each one of these is a member of the group that has provided a data set to the AML, Abandoned Mine Lands data set, and is available through these dashboards. This includes specifically the data layers for BLM has their abandoned mine land features. They also provided a data ownership. Department of Energy has a lot of their legacy management. So things like uranium mines, right? In Colorado, that was a thing for a number of years, contributing to various Department of Defense things. EPA has a few different layers that they pulled in. Forest Service actually just went through a reevaluation with Colorado Geological Survey on both the inventory of the features themselves and the areas in which they occurred. So there's kind of two versions of that. USGS has a couple different studies that have come out in Colorado, PP 1651 and DDS 73. Those are just two different studies in two different regions that produced abandoned mine land information. We also have Division of Mine Reclamation, Mining and Safety, as well as just for people's context, we threw in the county layer. So you actually have a shot at knowing where you are when you're looking at these data sets and trying to inventory what's where. What that turns into is basically a data hub. Like I said, this is the deprecated one, but you can basically go in and identify, okay, for a particular one of these, what's the site? What was it, right? This is Vulcan. This was the smelter. This was in a particular mine district. It's got a site ID. It's got who's the source, right? So this is USGS and their DDS 73 data series, as well as a link out to their contact information. So you can go get a hold of, hey, I want to know more. I have a project. I'm trying to do some stream restoration near here. What do I need to know? Those kind of things. That's kind of the purpose, just to make people aware of these different data sets. In response to that first data prep, there was a parallel track that was doing a water quality study on specifically abandoned mine lands impacted by discharging or wet mine features in response to the Gold Kings, right? So this was basically how many potential new Gold Kings do we have out there that we know of, just bare minimum, as these are mine features that leak bad water, right? That's kind of what we're really trying to keep a look at. So this was a task force put together, the Mine Impacted Streams Task Force. I'll have a link to that later on the Water Quality Control Division's website, basically to try and determine the extent and magnitude of water quality impact due to abandoned mine land drainage. So specifically the water side of it. So what this group did is they came out and they surveyed 140 odd, I think, abandoned mine lands, discharging additives that were known to be problems. They field surveyed all of them. So there's field notes associated with that. There's field photos associated with that. And then they prioritized. Basically, these are ones that have short-term projects that are in the works or nearing completion for remediation of these issues, or these are ones that are uncertain and unplanned and unfunded. We need to go pay attention to them. It's kind of the outcome of what that was. So there was a priority at the state level of where we needed to start tackling some of this big problem. 145, I remember my number right. But again, this dates back to 2016 from the Animas River spill, the Gold Key mine leak. This resulted in, again, a geospatial data set with all those different pieces in it. You can see the prioritization status, which ones are bad, which ones are good. You can also review the raw data set, right? There's an Excel file associated with this. You can review the photos they took, the field survey notes, as well as the general water quality that they took. They took a whole bunch of samples back to the lab and produced what is aluminum, what is flow, what is pH, there's a whole list. For that particular site on that particular day of the visit. So you can get a sense of where the water quality side of this is. That has, for example, this is Mary Murphy. This is one of the draining adits that's out there. And in this data set, you've got the field notes on the left side. You get the picture of the field visit. This is just an example of what one of these features look like, right? Some of them are more collapsed, some of them are more pristine, some of them are better cared for than others. But the point is that they were visited and surveyed is really what that study looked into. What we then did, because again, this is close to 10 years old that data set was put together in ERAMS 1. We have gone through two separate software upgrades in ERAMS 2 and ERAMS 3, for various technology evolves reasons. So what we've done is we've integrated this into the Watershed Rapid Assessment Program. Please see the webinar on that one. We had one back in July. It's linked on our YouTube channel, as well as we're going to have another one later in the year for some kind of new features since July timeline there. But integrated in there is a section specifically under the other category of abandoned mine lands. And this one allows you to do a data summary. This gives you access to things like the EPA watershed-based plan template, so you can actually go do a watershed-based plan via the RAP tool, and AML feeds into pieces of that. But in general, if you pick your watershed of interest, in this case, I picked the Swan River tributary to the Blue River near Breckenridge. We'll go walk through this particular example just so you don't have to take it all in. But on the left side, you specify your watershed of interest, Swan River, go down to your data sets, pick abandoned mine lands. It goes and queries the data set, figures out where that is, and then it summarizes what's available. So you'll notice that first you got a big old legend that these colors belong to these agencies. Again, this is a one-to-one with the list that I gave you before, right? These are the EPA mines. These are the U.S. Geological Survey DDS 73 features, right? Where all those sit. You've also got on the right side, you can turn on and off your layers. You can download a copy of the map. You can take a screenshot of it. You'll notice that this particular data set, for privacy reasons, zoom in is not allowed. We lock the zoom at this is as close as you can get, because that was a determination of part of the data sharing agreement from all those federal and state partners, is they didn't want people to be able to drill in and find these, because some of these literally exist in people's backyards. And as unpleasant as that may be, we don't really want people tromping through the forest trying to find it when it's private property that they're going onto. Included into RAP, though, beyond simply the map summary, you also have a table summary. So this is kind of the attribute summary of what's going on for the abandoned mine lands. You get a link out to the agency contact page. You've got their metadata, and then you've got a collapsible, expandable summary per group, right? So the AML water quality study, the Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety, Department of Energy, et cetera, and how many of their data set exist within your area. You click and expand and review those. So if we open the water quality study, you'll notice that the Swan River Mine, also known as the Tiger Mine, was surveyed, Swan River PDF, right? So that's their field form. You got their photos, the date of the visit, a few other things you can go review there, but all the metadata pieces are here. You can also keep going, scroll down, and it'll actually, you can toggle in this tool, and I'll show you this live as opposed to a screenshot because it makes more sense. You can toggle how you view that map for various accessibility reasons. If you're interested to go pursue this on your own, which is kind of hopefully the next step after this webinar, feel free to go review the RAP tool, cdphe-rap.erams.com. We're ERAMS, so all of our stuff has that in the URL. There's also a documentation page that takes you to how do I use the RAP tool, right? This is how you get into it. This is how you specify your area of interest. This is how you pick on the data set you're interested in and what you do with it, right? So all those pieces, the user manual, the cross links to the webinars like these that actually give us how to use these tools are available there. And for these webinars, like I said, user's guide, dissemination of the webinars, technical assistance, contact, points of contact, all those pieces are available on those documentation sites. So we're going to swap over to a live demo. So again, if you just go to cdphe-rap.erams.com, I'll just refresh it so that you guys can see that I'm on that page. What you start with is basically specifying the area of interest in Colorado that you want to go see. So if I wanted to go, for example, do the exact example that I sent in my screenshot, I was looking at the Swan River near Breckenridge. This will then, after selecting your area of interest, give you the data sets that you can pick between to summarize on the RAP tool. On this side, you can actually go look at that map, right? So you can go get an interactive map of this is the Swan River near Breckenridge, or go back to the actual like text content. In the other category is where abandoned mine lands sit. It will load for a sec, right? So this is, we're going to go clip that data set to your area of interest. Once it's done loading, you'll get that switched over to a view option. That will load that content into this page. Looks identical to my screenshot for a reason, but you can actually go through and you can click these hyperlinks. So you can say, if I want to go look at the water quality study and I want to see the field notes on the Swan River Tiger Mine, if I want to go look at the photos of that particular one, you can see the attic collapse over here, and some of the tailings piles, some of the drainage that exists, some of the work that's been done to channelize and contain that. All those pieces of information are available. You also have that for all the other data sets, right? So the DRMS layer, you've got all of their various features, their names if available, claim it's related to. What is it, right? Is it an adit? Is it a shaft? Is it a waste pile? Is it a prospect pit? Whether or not they know they were after metals versus coal versus uranium, all those fun things. And then whether or not that particular site's been reclaimed in the recent past. You can download the attributes. You can't download the data layer, right? That's the important clarification here. If you keep scrolling, you get these for all the different data sets, right? So here's the USGS one. We've got a few more. There's 24 of those. But you can also get down to the map down here, or like I said, you can toggle the one up here and you can get that full view of the map data set. Now, remember, this is live. I can zoom out. I can see my data set. I can't zoom in any further for those privacy reasons we discussed. You can also turn on and off various layers if you don't want to see some of these. So if you want more or fewer, or just want to take a screenshot of one of them, you can screenshot that particular example. That's going to go save it for you. So you got a little PNG image of this particular map in that particular spot. And the layers don't download. You just get a fun little warning there. That's the gist of the presentation of this data set, right? So historically, this was a collaboration with CGS and Division of Water Quality, Water Quality Control Division at CDPHE, and they worked with all the state and federal partners to put this data set together. We're kind of the stewards long-term of where that data sits and how accessible it is, and have kept plugging that along in our newer software updates so that as technology has evolved, we don't have this sitting on a 10-year-old piece of software that doesn't run right anymore. We've got it in the new one. And you can review and summarize and access all these pieces in a very dynamic way to whatever part you're interested in. You can, of course, reset your area of interest. I'm happy to walk through a different example. If someone's got a watershed of interest that they want me to pull up, more than happy to kind of take that kind of question and walk through it. But that is the core of our presentation. We're not, as you can tell, we're not going to take the whole hour. We're going to have like a half-hour conversation today. But Sarah, if you don't mind taking over and let me know if anyone's raised hands or submitted questions, I'm happy to take those at this time.
Thank you, Tyler. I haven't seen any hands or questions pop up yet, but please feel free to either raise your hand or throw a question in the chat if you are ready. I'm going to try to enable your microphone and camera. DKilty3, if you want to try to unmute yourself. Sorry, I don't know what your name is. That's just how you're showing up. Otherwise,
that's really okay. Hi,
okay.
I'm Diane Kilty.
Hey, Diane.
Hey, Tyler. How you
Good
doing?
to see you again. Doing
Good
well.
seeing
Doing
you.
well.
I found out about this really late in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, like I have a couple questions and I have other questions, but one of the things is, I think you said you're doing more of these because I'd like to be able to get this information out to other, like we have a newsletter. I'd like to get it to them. I also do work
Absolutely.
for the Colorado Water Conservation Board, and DNR supports this. So I'd like to be able to shoot this out through some of my networks because I do think this is very, very interesting.
So to that point, if you go to the link, housing.collegestate.edu, it's in the presentation, so people saw it briefly, but if you just, and I think Sarah's dropped it into the channel, you can subscribe to our newsletter. That's where we kind of present a lot of this information. Happy to have more people join it if you want to blast that out to your subgroup. And specifically under the events section is a webinars section. You'll notice that this has a series of these that were presented in the first half of the year. We took a little summer break and we're coming back in October. We're going to have a couple more before the end of the year. They're not set up yet. We haven't agreed on what we're presenting and when. It's more what that's about. But absolutely, this page is up to date with when we're going to have these. And we'll put it in the newsletter when the next one's available for sign up. So absolutely share this with the folks that you want. We've got the webinar schedule. We've got the newsletter. We've got all those pieces that you're welcome to share with folks.
Thanks. And I noticed like Cindy Kirby is online here and she's with, if it's a Cindy I know, she's with Respect, who's doing our updated watershed plan. So I know she's going to have questions, but I work for other watershed groups who are getting ready to do a wrap, that kind of thing. Hey, Cindy. I want to make sure that those groups have access to this too, and the people that they're hiring to do the work that they're doing. Is there a communication from you guys to all the wrap through CWCB? Are you doing a kind of reverse communication with them? Because I can bring this to those groups who are doing RAPs.
We would love your help doing that. We do not have a direct reverse access to the groups that are trying to put together watershed assessment plans. Sorry, that's not the right one. EPA watershed-based management plans. There we go. Got my acronym right. And the short answer is yes, absolutely. That's why this tool exists. Is CDPHE has determined it important enough to throw some money at us and say, make this available for general use, so that you can go in and you can. If I use my Swan Creek example again, just because it's a nice little simple one.
You need to be using Clear Creek. I'm sorry. What is the matter with you? I'm kidding.
But you can go ahead. It's smaller. That's the big one. It just demos faster. You can go ahead and create your up here on this report template. It'll auto fill in all the data sets, auto fetch all the pieces, right? So you got your climate information, your topography, your land use, your population. There's some heavy pieces behind the scenes here, of course. As they finish, you can go review the different pieces, right? So if I wanted to go look at canals and ditches in this area, or if I wanted to go look at my geology for this particular one, I can go see the geology for this particular site. All those pieces are running behind the scenes. I'm not surprised. Land use and topography, those are the heaviest data sets. Those are big rasters. But this will auto update into a downloadable Word template. That you can go review. This is the purpose of a watershed-based plan. Here's your table of contents that turns into, I actually have screenshots of my particular watershed with the different data sets turned on and off, right? First one, just the watershed. Then you've actually got, this is my topography in my watershed. Then you've got, this is my climate in my watershed, from precipitation to mean to max to min. You've got that same geology one I just showed you, and all the way down, right? So you've got your conservation areas, your imperviousness, your population, all those pieces feed into EPA watershed-based plan. And this at the very top, I skipped over, you can download as a Word file and have your own copy that you then expand, right? You have stakeholders who know their watersheds better than a computer does, and they'll expand on that template. That's why it's called a template. But yes, absolutely, this tool is open, available for you, for your stakeholders, for the people that are in Colorado that have these questions.
Okay, good. Because another thing that I noticed is that you had canals on there, and I think we're getting ready to start putting together a investigation into canals and riparian areas, and kind of another water storage concept. So thank you. That helps me. And I'm not going to spend time in here, but my last question, and then I'll hand it over to Cindy, because my questions I know are really kind of, how do I get the word out about this? But I noticed the field sheets that are attached. Back in the 80s, I saw some field sheets from back in the 80s from the Geologic Survey that I have not been able to find again. Here's my question. These field sheets are related to when they were doing investigations out all over the state into potential hydropower locations throughout the state, whether that be micro, all the different levels of hydropower. Have you seen those? Are they incorporated in any of these systems? Because I can't find them again. I haven't been able to find these field sheets. And I'm very curious.
Short answer is I've never found them. I've never looked for them. It's probably the more appropriate answer. So they're not in this particular tool. Those field sheets are just specific to the Water Quality Control Division staff that went out and surveyed all those sites for the abandoned mine land stuff. So if we pull up one of those for the heck of looking at it.
Yes, I find this very helpful.
Oh, it's super useful when you're trying to examine a site that you're interested in. But you've got your date stamp, you got who did it, you got when they were there, you've got what they think they know about the mine claim number and all that kind of stuff, where it actually sits, how they got there. This is invaluable information for how do you go fix this problem from a water quality, watershed health perspective. So these were produced, like I said, from collaboration with the Water Quality Control Division at CDPHE and the Department of Mine Reclamation and Safety, DRMS.
Gotcha. Well,
I'm
if
sure
you
I
ever
switched
come
the
across
end
the
in
ones
that acronym.
that the Geologic Survey did out in the field in the 80s.
No, but I saw one of them one time. I saw someone present one of those for one of the bluffs out in Pawnee, because there was a canal that went down a bluff there that could have been an interesting little hydropower spot, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Pawnee. I know that USGS did a bunch of data reorganization on their files side, I don't know how much of that got lost versus got preserved, but that's at least a starting point.
Gotcha. Well, I will stop dominating this and I will mute myself here.
Oh, you're doing just fine.
Thanks,
But like I
Tyler.
said, kind of as a recap,
And Sarah.
absolutely, RAP is built broader than just abandoned mine lands. Abandoned mine land is just a really key important part of it for today's webinar and topic, but kind of the long term, what do you do with it? If you're interested in the webinar series, we've got that on our web main page. If you're interested in the software and the other things we've got that there. And then, like I said, we've got the actual landing pages for this is abandoned mine lands put together by this group and the stream impacted task force, right? So you can actually go out and figure out where this came from with the Water Quality Control Division, and they cross-link back to us, of course, for all those pieces. But Cindy, if you have something, feel free to chime in.
You know, I was just gonna let Diane know that I have been using this stuff. I download it and we have our own little data sets too, and kind of compare and use different pieces of everything. So just so you know, this is kind of going into part of the Clear Creek work that we're doing. The other day I got in here somehow. I don't remember if it was a link. I was able to download a little bit of water quality data. Is that a part of this where you can download some of that, or was that through somebody completely different or something completely different?
Something completely different, but just as an aside, by the end of the year, one of the things, what we're in the middle of a delivery of a contract through the end of December, and one of the items in there is you'll notice that these have been reorganized compared to the first rollout of RAP since I think even the June timeline for that version. Into basically we have an attribute section, we have a data set section, and we have an analysis section. Right, some data sets lend themselves towards analysis. So if I were to pull. Oh, it's a good one. Population, I think, is probably a good one. You'll notice that you've got the raw attributes of these are the blocks that exist where they surveyed census data, and you've got the block number, how many are employed, how many houses, etc. You also have an analysis section that you can go through and look at. I want to look at housing units and how that's changed over time across there. The analysis section specific to stream monitoring sites. If I were to look at the stream monitoring sites, right, I just have a list of sites. It's the only thing here, attributes, and then you have the map. That's it. We are building a whole nother section in here that is the assessment of stream monitoring sites. So that's discharge assessment, and that's water quality assessment. So absolutely, yes, in December, you will have access to that in the RAP.
I'm really excited about that. And is this like the sources of all the data that you're going to be using? Obviously, probably the National Water Quality Portal with USGS
yes.
and STORAT, but then also is it going to have like the different Colorado specific sources that may not be included in the portal, like the
We have some. So we're tapped into one of the versions of the Department of Water Resources discharge data sets because they have a real-time monitoring network. And I think we've got a legacy support towards the, and you can help me on the acronym because I always forget it, but it's it's CDNS. Colorado Data Share.
Oh yeah, Colorado Data Share Network.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think data sharing networks have been pulled in here, but I do think the CDWR sites are in here, right? So we actually highlighted the 3 that we're locked into, but we do have some state interests. If you have any interest in us pursuing more of those, go quote Kanan and make him tell us to do it. We're more than happy to expand this over time. This is a platform, right? The whole point is that this is just a generic framework to get into basic data summary and basic data access. That's what RAP is for.
What are the standards right now? Is that like where it links the beneficial uses to each different water quality standard? Is that?
No, so this is actually the standards. So it's actually this is regulated for designated for recreational contact. So E. coli is 26. Forget and
126. Yep.
I forget the exact units on that one. But yeah, these are the actual numbers that belong to them. Some of them are table value standards, which means it's an equation hard coded behind the scenes. You got to go look up that's based on hardness or pH or temperature or something like that. But these are the published standards that are in Reg 31 through 39, 37.
So you can click on any stream segment, it'll tell you the standards for that segment.
Yep.
Love that.
They're bundled by segment level or water body ID, WB ID. It's not AUID level. So standards are held at the WB level in Colorado.
Sounds great.
Yep.
So kind of a pain to figure them out.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, so the stream monitoring sections will have water quality data soon.
Awesome. I'm excited about it.
Of course. And like I said, if you have any specific questions on the abandoned mine land stuff, we've got a nice little landing page that talks about both the water quality study, the abandoned mine lands data set itself, right? So this is the data hub of all the groups. This is just specifically the water quality study where they have the field surveys. And those both get combined into the wrap version of just looking at the abandoned mine land content.
Yeah.
And
wondering-
quick question.
Mhm.
I was looking at all the links that Sarah has provided to us, but are any of those links the specific link to the abandoned mine program? Told. I have,
Probably not. You probably don't have this one. Oops.
if you guys could throw that in the link, because I'm developing a little
Absolutely.
sheet with these to send over to the assembly.
Yep, I might have beat you to it, Sarah.
Okay.
But yeah, that one, you can get to it from our websites, right? If you go into our software and you can look at our portfolio and get into Colorado, you can get into Beta Mines, is that guy. So you can drill in.
And the webinar invitation also has the direct link to the tool, like within the invite. I'm also going to throw in here in the day of what I'll say are unmanageable email inboxes. We also have a limited social media presence in that we use LinkedIn, and our webinars and other activities and events are always posted to our LinkedIn page. If you don't want to try to weed through all the waters of figuring out where direct links are, our LinkedIn page is an easy kind of one-stop shop for current activities. But I will actually get you both signed up for our newsletter. Those are quarterly, but we do list all of our upcoming events in those as well. And you're more than welcome to pass those along when they hit your
Perfect.
inbox.
Yeah, I want to send it to our social media coordinator because we manage several social media accounts for like CWCB, CWA, so we can link up.
Fabulous. Yeah, we would love that cross-pollination.
Excellent. Well, feel free to reach out to us at any point. You've got Sarah's contact, you've got our contact. There's contact us buttons all over our websites. If you think of something you forgot to ask, don't hesitate to reach out, right? We're here to support use of these data sets, use of these tools, collaboration across water quality across Colorado. That's the point of what we're doing. And abandoned mine lands is one piece of that puzzle, of course.
Much appreciated. Cindy, thanks for coming. I know this was so last minute. I was like, this just showed up in my box.
You're
I
fine.
feel like
That's why,
practiced.
as an emphasis, as soon as this is over in the next 2-3 days, it'll get processed and stuck on our YouTube channel, so you can go rewatch it or send it to everybody who missed it. So those are definitely available for re-review after the fact.
And then on our website, that webinar page that we linked, if a webinar has been conducted, you will link directly to the video from there as well. So also an easy kind of
Yeah, so
one-stop
if
shop.
you come to this and you look at the one that we're in today, you get the how do you register for it. But if you go to one of the other ones that I want to go look at, for example, the wrap one, you actually go straight to the YouTube page of this is the wrap tool recording of that webinar. So try to make it easy for people to get to the content because asynchronous meeting or synchronous meeting attendance is hard. It just is. So we record these and show them out so people can review them later.
Well, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your work.
Of course. Thank you for hopping on.
You guys have an
You
awesome
guys.
afternoon.
Have a good rest
Take
of your
care.
time.
Have a great day, guys. Bye. Hey, can I